They read the story, but they never questioned what was missing. Cain kills Abel. God expels him. He flees to the land of Nod. And then the strangest phrase, "And Cain knew his wife." But wait, where did this woman come from? If Adam and Eve were the first, and we only know of 3 children, who was this mysterious wife? And why does the Bible mention sons and daughters, but say nothing about them? Today, we will reveal what has been forgotten, silenced, and erased by history. If you're looking for hidden answers in God's Word, like this video and subscribe now, because this revelation could change the way you read the entire Bible. Genesis 4:17, Cain knows his wife. But until then, the Bible did not mention daughters, nor other peoples, nor another lineage. Cain, the murderer of Abel, goes to the land of Nod, and there a woman appears. Silence, no explanation. But in the silence of the Bible, God often hides secrets. The key, Genesis 5:4. And the days of Adam after he begat Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. Cain's wife was one of those daughters. But why wasn't she mentioned before? Because the story wasn't about her. It was about sin, judgment, and the beginning of civilization. But this omission is not a mistake. It's a clue, an invitation for eyes that see beyond the surface. Why would the Bible speak of a mysterious woman without saying where she came from? Was it to protect a secret older than the fall itself? The book of Jubilees recounts, Adam and Eve had 9 sons and 9 daughters. Flavius Josephus, the Jewish historian, goes further, 33 sons and 23 daughters. There are so many sons, there are so many daughters, but we don't know their names, and that's intentional. The Bible isn't an encyclopedia of complete genealogies. It focuses on the plan of redemption. But for humanity to multiply, it was necessary for the first children to marry among themselves. That was the reality of the first generation. Before the law, before genetic contamination, before the corruption of the meat. If Adam lived more than 900 years, how many generations did he see born? And how many of these sons and daughters have been lost in the dust of time, forgotten even by those who should remember? Perhaps among those silent daughters were women of power, wisdom, and destiny. Perhaps one of them was more than just a wife. Perhaps she was the mother of a cursed lineage. The most widely accepted tradition among Christian scholars is that Cain married one of his sisters. Some ancient texts suggest names like Awan or Lulua, although these names are not in the Bible. The important thing is, she was the daughter of Adam and Eve. Cain flees but takes a wife with him. He was possibly already married before killing Abel. Or perhaps he found his wife later among the descendants of his parents. This does not contradict the scriptures. At that time, it was the beginning of humanity. The moral law was yet to be revealed. Hebrew tradition gives names, but the names conceal something darker, Awan Lulua, forgotten names, or names deliberately erased. If Cain married before the murder, what kind of home did he build? And then he married. How did he find a wife among those who feared him? Did she choose Cain, or was she chosen by God for a hidden purpose? If this is already opening your eyes, share this video with someone who loves studying the Word. The next revelation is even more profound. Cain had a son, Enoch, and he built a city and named it after himself. But what else did Cain pass on to him? Could it be that Abel's blood cried out only from the earth, or did he also curse the blood of his descendants? This city was the first human civilization, but also the first sign of the fall of man. Who really was Enoch, son of Cain? Do not confuse him with the other Enoch, the righteous one, a descendant of Seth who was taken up by God. 2 Enochs, 2 paths. One cursed, the other enraptured. Initially, marriage between siblings was not considered a sin. The prohibition only came with the law of Moses, more than 1,000 years later. In Leviticus 18, God establishes clear limits. But in Genesis, the world was still pure. Human DNA had not yet been corrupted. Humanity was just beginning. And God, in his wisdom, allowed the spread of life to happen through the few that existed. As Paul said, from one man he made all the nations of mankind. Acts 17:26. Yes, but not without pain. Each union, each birth was marked by the echo of the lost Eden. Can you imagine a world without sin? Before malice, before lies. A world where siblings married, not for lust, but for survival. But even in that world, sin had already left its mark, and the judgment was already coming, silent, inevitable. Cain's descendants founded cities, created musical instruments, and developed civilization. But they also turned away from God. Genesis 6 shows the corruption of humanity, and in Genesis 7 comes the flood. The entire lineage of Cain is wiped out. Only Noah, a descendant of Seth, is spared. Cain's wife, his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, they disappear in the waters of judgment. But the name of Cain remains, not as an example, but as a warning. They created instruments, but they forgot the sound of God's voice. They founded cities, but they lost the garden. Cain's civilization was magnificent, but devoid of glory. And when the waters rose, every stone, every harp, every name was swallowed up by justice. But the lineage of Seth survived, because while Cain built a city, Seth built an altar. Now you know who was Cain's wife, and why were the daughters of Adam and Eve forgotten? They existed, they were important. But the focus of the Bible is Christ, and everything that's there is meant to point to Him. But now, think about it. How many stories have been lost in the silence of the Bible? What if the forgotten daughters held more than just names? What if Cain's wife wasn't just a woman, but the beginning of a lineage that God allowed, only to later erase? If you love discovering these hidden mysteries in the subtext of the Bible, sign up now. Because the next video will reveal the forgotten secret of Noah's sons. Comment below, the silence of the Bible hides divine secrets. That way I'll know you're ready for the next mystery. Because in the next episode we will reveal Noah's son who hid a curse and shaped the destiny of entire civilizations. Are you ready for this truth?